Happy Tuesday, folks, and welcome back to WrestleRant, where every single Tuesday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network as well as on the Global Wrestling Network. Today we're talking ECW Hardcore Heaven from August of 1997. Now, I've watched a handful of ECW shows for WrestleRant in recent months. Some of them good, some pretty good, some terrible, and this unfortunately falls in the latter category. This was not a good show. Quite honestly, this show sucked. There was not a lot of good stuff on the show whatsoever, so we might as well get it over with. We kick off the show with Rick Rude, who had just, I believe, returned to WWE. So this show took place, I think, on August 17th, 16th, 17th, 18th, something along those lines, like mid-August. Rude had just returned to WWE with D-Generation X literally days earlier. So the fact that he was able to appear on the event was cool, but also not too surprising considering the relationship that WWE had with ECW at that time. They were working a whole fucking program between Jerry Lawler, the Raw commentator, and Tommy Dreamer from ECW. So it makes sense they were able to work together at this point in time. But it was cool he appeared on the show. This would not be the last time we would see him on the show, but he cut a great promo, digging into the fans. The crowd just ate it all up. By the way, the arena looked a little bit bigger than your standard ECW arena crowd. I forgot where this event emanated from. It looked slightly bigger, maybe not much bigger than my living room, but it still looked slightly bigger than the other ECW pay-per-view attendance crowds, whatever, that I had seen with the previous pay-per-views. Anyway, so he had appeared at the start of the show, runs down the fans, and that's all we see from Rick Rude. The opening match of the night for the ECW World Television Championship, Taz defending against Chris Candido, in what was actually a pretty good match. I thought this was a great match to kick off the show with. The ECW TV title seems like a show opener type spot for that title to be in. So I thought this was good. They worked well together. Taz went over as he should have. I believe he hit the Taz mission off the top rope. Candido was going for something, and then Taz reversed it into the Taz mission and forced him to tap out for the victory. So, good stuff. The show is off to a solid start. Unfortunately, it was all downhill after... I don't want to say after that, because I feel like this next match was pretty great, too, despite being a squash. It was Bam Bam Bigelow completely decimating Spike Dudley. This was fucking awesome. A 5-minute squash match was entertaining, more entertaining than probably anything else on the show. This was hilarious. So he pretty much kills Spike Dudley by throwing him into the crowd before bringing him back in, killing him to get the 1, 2, 3, and that's it. It's not like Spike upsets Bam Bam Bigelow or gets any offense in whatsoever. No, he doesn't. He just gets killed and run over by Bam Bam Bigelow. I thought that was so glorious, and the crowd ate it up. I thought that was awesome. Rob Van Dam versus El Sano I thought was pretty good too. Again, I thought it was a well-wrestled matchup. They worked well together. El Sano on his own really doesn't do anything for me, but as a worker, the guy was good. Rob Van Dam was great. He's still in the prime of his career as a heel. I thought he was amazing. It kind of surprises me watching back these ECW shows and seeing how great of a heel RVD was. But he never, I don't think, got a heel run in WWE at all. Maybe when he first showed up as part of the Alliance. But beyond that, RVD was never a heel in WWE. I understand he was super over, and it would have been dumb of the company to turn him heel. RVD was always over as a babyface in WWE. So I'm not surprised they never turned him. But still, he was a great heel. He was a really, really, really good heel, and I'm surprised they never really tried that character out when he eventually jumped ship to WWE down the road. For the ECW, or RVD won that match, by the way. I forgot to mention that. So again, a good match, like I said. Anyway, after that, we had for the ECW World Tag Team titles, it was the Dudley Boys taking on PG-13, a tag team consisting of JC Ice and Wolfie D. This was not good at all. This sucked. I like the Dudley Boys, but PG-13, what a fucking joke. I've never seen these guys before. Could not give two shits about them. The match itself sucked. The only thing really worth noting about this was not the match itself, but rather beforehand. I think his name is Joel Gertner, whatever. He was the mainstay in ECW, so he comes out cutting a promo. He's aligned with the Dudley Boys and the entire Dudley Boys family. He came out with Jenny, something, Jameson. Pretty notable porn star from the 90s. So she was out there. We never really did find out why she was out there with him. Looked hot as hell. But that was really the only thing that made this bearable to watch. So as mentioned before, we had Tommy Dreamer versus Jerry Lawler on the show. This went way too long, almost 20 minutes. From an in-ring standpoint, this sucked. And there was a lot of overbooking, which I know was like ECW was notorious for. But I just thought this was shit. I mean, they made parts of this work, and the crowd was happy when Dreamer went over. But the interference that was involved in this was so fucking over the top. So first of all, Dreamer's in control towards the end. Rick Rude comes out to cost Dreamer the win. So Jerry Lawler attempts to win, and he can't. And that makes sense. Rick Rude, if he interfered, whatever. Rick Rude's in the WWE. He just returned to WWE. So it makes sense that Rick Rude would interfere and help Jerry Lawler win. I understand that. Jake Roberts comes out, attempts to attack Jerry Lawler. Have no idea why Jake the Snake Roberts is out there, don't really care. That was bizarre. And then fucking Sonny comes out to make matters even worse. To cost Tommy the win, to cost Tommy the victory here. And that's unsuccessful. Tommy won anyway. So what the fuck was the point? She was a complete waste here. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, but all the overbooking, the ref bumps, was just way too much. This was shit. Just a big pile of steaming shit. The Sandman, we see him throughout the night on the Extreme Chopper, hosted by interviewer Lance Wright. I don't know what the hell this was. So Sandman was like in an ambulance. He comes out during the main event to attack Sabu. I don't know. This was just weird. They gave us updates on Sandman throughout the night, maybe just to keep people interested, update the viewers in regards to whether he would show up. I don't know. I don't know what the point of that was. It was kind of dumb. Didn't really get it. Whatever. So we had a three-way dance for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship in the main event. It was Shane Douglas, Terry Funk, Sabu. A rematch, I believe, from a show from about 3 years earlier. It started out well, actually. I thought it started out pretty strong. And then it went all downhill in like the second half. It was a fucking mess. A lot of crazy spots. A lot of just weird shit they were doing and all this other stuff. Typical of ECW. Like, I'm not surprised. Like all the chair shots and the table shots and all this other shit. But it's like, some of this was just too much. It was just like, why would you even do that? It was a dumb spot. Didn't even elicit a reaction. It's really stupid. But it was good early on. I will say that. It was a good match to start out. It just fell off a fucking cliff in the second half. So Sabu goes MIA. Shane Douglas pins Terry Funk with the help of his valet. I forgot who it was. Maybe woman? I don't know. I don't remember. So Shane Douglas retains, I believe. I think he retained. I don't know if he won. I think he retained the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. So he wins. And then out comes the Dudleys with Joel Gertner. And they offer Shane Douglas a spot in the Dudley Boy faction, to which Shane says no. And then a brawl ensues before New Jack and John Cronus come out to lay the beating on them for like several minutes. And the crowd ate that shit up. That was probably the liveliest they were all night. So it came across like one giant fucking mess. But the crowd was white hot for it. So I will say it ended the show on a high note, because the actual main event sucked in the second half. And if you ended it there, the show would have been like, wow, what a waste of my time. The show still was a waste of my time. If I wasn't reviewing it for this show, I definitely would not have checked it out. But at least they ended things on a high note with that post-match brawl. Everything else was pretty lousy in the second half of the show. Thankfully, it's a 2.5 hour show, so it flies by quickly. I mean, again, it started out with some promise. I thought the squash of Spike Dudley was amazing. The RVD Al Snow match was good enough. The opener I thought was entertaining. And the Rick Rude promo I thought was great to start off the show. Everything else in the second half, I don't know what the fuck happened, but it was terrible. Absolutely awful. So it's really a tale of two shows here between the first half and the second half. I still wouldn't recommend it. Even though the first half is solid, I would not recommend you go out of your way to watch the show. It's probably one of the worst ECW shows I've seen up to this point. I believe this is the 5th ECW pay-per-view I've reviewed so far on WrestleRant. I might be wrong about that. But hopefully the next one's better, because this was it's pretty mediocre, all things considered. But anyway, guys, thank you for checking out my review of ECW Hardcore Heaven 1997. What did you think of the show? Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, all that other great stuff in the comment section, or in the description box, rather. My social My links, the links to my socials are all right there. So anyway, we will be back next week, I believe, with my full review, my retrospective review of Backlash 2017 ahead of this year's installment. So it should be interesting. I thought the Backlash 2017 show, I remember watching with Jason. I don't remember if I thought it was good or bad or average. It felt like a 3-hour SmackDown from what I can recall. So we will be watching that back next week, so be sure to stay tuned for that right here on WrestleRant. Until then, guys, be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. We are quickly approaching 2,000 subscribers, so help me break that amazing milestone. I would amazingly appreciate it. Anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.